So we already started adding in the notes for some of the igneous rock chart. So we've already reviewed what intrusive and extrusive igneous rocks are. We reviewed that the longer the time of cooling, the larger the crystal. And I believe we were on to texture on, I don't even remember what day this would have been now. Like, was this yesterday? It was yesterday after the quiz? All right. So you should have all of this so far. Did you have texture too? Okay, so you got, all right, so texture, let me just fill it in real quick.
You waited it out, didn't you?
I did not. I was doing it on PowerPoint, wasn't I?
Yeah, that's tough.
Texture are 4 choices, which is a perfect place to pick up. Are glassy, fine, coarse, and very coarse. This is a perfect place to review because this is probably a tricky part. Because up until now, if I asked you, what's the texture of your sweatshirt? What would you would have touched it and you would have rubbed it and you would have said, the texture of your sweatshirt? Soft. Would have asked you the texture of Felicia's jacket and what would you have said? It's like a slippery, like silky almost. It's not soft, like that soft, but it's different. It's a perfect example. If I was to ask you the texture of jeans versus sweatpants, you would have always just, the first thing you would have done was touch it. For igneous rocks, we don't touch them to see their texture. We actually just have to look at them. This is not something you have to memorize because it does tell you what glassy means. So what does it mean to be glassy?
No crystals.
Glassy means no crystals. So nothing about looking like glass. So we don't look at something and compare it to glass as we know it. Glassy stupidly means no crystals. So no crystals can be like this one, which just so happens to look like glass. It has no crystals, but it can also be this one. Does this look anything like glass here?
No.
This one is also glassy. Again, what does it mean to be glassy?
No crystals.
No crystals. A lot of times people are like, oh, that's rough. It must be coarse. Remember, it's not coarse. Glassy means no crystals. So there's no crystals on this one. What does fine mean?
It means the crystals are
Less than 1 millimeter. And I believe I talked about this with everybody, but I'll remind you, a 1 millimeter is the tip of your pen. So when you get that's small. I like to relate this to one piece of glitter. And this rock is actually the best example, and I know you can't see it too well. Let me see if I turn up lights with that helps. This one legit looks like it has random pieces of glitter in it. So don't, whoa. There, you can see that one random speck. There's a few other random specks. But the key is those random specks, what do you notice about my tip of my pen? They're smaller than the tip of my pen. So that's going to be in the fine category. It has some crystals, but they're teeny tiny. I like to think of this, if you're looking at it and you're like turning it around and you're like, I'm pretty sure I see a crystal, but I'm not quite sure. That's probably a fine one. They're so small you can't really see them. So that's going to be fine. Now, coarse just means they're 1 millimeter to 10 millimeters. And by they, I don't mean the rock. We're not talking about the whole rock itself. We're talking about the individual crystals in them. So each one of these, you can see they are all bigger than the tip of my pen, but 10 millimeters is about how fat your pinky is. So even these big ones, they're not bigger than my pinky. So this is the 1 to 10. If it was very coarse, they would be larger than 10 millimeters. So I just did 10 millimeters plus. That's where we left off yesterday. Now I do want to talk about texture continued. So that's going to be our next box. So texture continued is whether it is, the only choice over here is non-vesicular, vesicular, or back down to non-vesicular. Did you just put that past? Or do you not have one? Okay. All right, so the texture continued box, our only choices are, well, is the rock vesicular or non-vesicular? So I guess we better know what vesicular means. And it actually tells you right on the reference table, what does vesicular mean? Take a look, what's it say in parentheses?
Gas pocket.
Vesicular just means gas pockets. What the heck is a gas pocket?
The gas pocket.
There's a gas pocket in your pizza crust. It's full of air. It's basically an air hole.
There's a gas pocket in pizza crust.
Have you never had a gas pocket in it? You know where?
Like the bumps on like right by the crust.
So you're apparently the only one who has no idea what I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm not.
So you know when like in the, I always picture it in the crust, but sometimes it does happen in the actual pizza part where there's like a bubble. I agree, it's probably my favorite part, but
Why
it's,
is that your favorite
I don't know, because it gets nice and crispy and yummy, and it's fun. But anyway, it forms basically the same way. How do you think that air pocket got stuck in the pizza crust? There's air, and then the pizza crust cooked around it. The same thing happened here, but instead of cooking, it cooled so fast. So see all these air pockets?
Yes.
It cooled so fast that that air pocket got like, it hardened around the air pocket, the air bubble, just like the pizza crust cooked around an air bubble. So what you can see is some glassy can be non-vesicular, but some glassy can be vesicular. Same with fine. Some of the fine are in the non-vesicular group, but the rest of the fine are in the vesicular. But coarse and very coarse, they cool too slow. The air does not get trapped. It has time to leak out. They're all non-vesicular. And then the last part, which again, if you were in lab, you know this part already.
I already know.
But now you do, because they showed it to you. Color, density, and composition all work the same way. And it's just by following these arrows over from the word. So for color, if the mineral you have, or the rock you have, like this one, is, your gut tells you that that's a lighter mineral. So lighter, or I keep saying mineral, lighter rock. So it's on this side of the chart. So it means it's none of these guys, and these are our only choices for light and color. If I was to go with, and of course I don't have an example, but if it was darker, it would be on this side of the chart. Same with density. If it has a higher density, it's on the right. If it has a lower density, it's on the left. So let's get those two in there. So color and density. So again, nothing you have to memorize. You just look at the chart. If you're over to the right of the word color or the right of the word density, you have a darker or a higher density. What about these ones in the middle? I'll just tell you, in 10th grade or science, they don't ask about them. The last one is going to be composition. What does composition mean to you? What it's made out of. And on here, they actually give names to what it's made out of. So there's two choices. We either have a mafic rock or a felsic rock. Check your reference tables because I know you can't see mine. What does it mean to be felsic? Check your reference tables. What does the word felsic, which is right there, it tells you right underneath it. What does it mean to be felsic? So it says it's rich in SI and AL. What do you think it means by rich? Has a lot of SI and AL. Do you have to memorize what SI and AL are? Where are they? Where in your reference table? Back page bottom. So felsic rocks are rich in silicon and aluminum, and we find them on the left side of the chart. If they're on the right side, they're mafic. Again, what does it mean to be mafic? Check the reference table. So same deal now, we're rich in Fe and Mg. Again, those are on the back page of your reference table, and they're just off to the right. So rich in iron and magnesium on the right. This box, yeah, we got one more to do. And this you did this morning. This is the minerals present box. If I just said students present, what does that mean? Students that are here. So minerals present are minerals that are there in that rock. And it's actually quite simple. See this bottom part of the chart? Take a look at the words in those boxes or in those symbols. I know you can't see mine, so check yours. What do these words say? Potassium feldspar quartz, plagioclase feldspar, pyroxene, olivine, amphibole, biotite. Do any of those words sound familiar? Why do those words sound familiar? They're minerals. They're on the back page of our reference table. So it's as simple as, see how each one of these igneous rocks, let's pick granite. See how granite has its own rectangular box?
Yeah.
Okay. If you follow the edges of that box down, and they even gave you these nice dashed lines, if you follow those dashed lines down, and then this one's at the edge of the paper, any of these symbols, and by symbols, I mean the polka dots, stripes, solid black, or the darker stripes. If any of those symbols show up in underneath your rock you're looking at, those are the minerals that are in it. So even though, see how this black section doesn't have a name that's showing? Even though the name is hiding, that black mineral is still in the mineral granite. So minerals present, the notes I want to do this, or for this, it says minerals listed below. Minerals listed below the rock are the minerals that make up that rock. So the minerals listed below the rock are the minerals that make up that rock. So with that, I actually have a question. What minerals make up rhyolite? The same things that make up granite. See how rhyolite and granite, their boxes kind of line up? If you follow them down, rhyolite and granite have the same minerals. So what's the difference between granite and rhyolite? Granite is intrusive, rhyolite is extrusive. Or granite is coarse grain, rhyolite is fine grain. So they're legit made of the same thing. This one and this one have the same minerals in them. The only thing that's different is how fast they cooled. So we have one more thing about this reference table that I haven't taught you yet. And so you're gonna need your own reference table out in front of you. And you're going to need to turn your packet to page 20. Page 20, and you're going to want your actual reference table out in front of you. Yeah, I guess, I'm also gonna just hand, oh wait, I think those ones are you. Let's get rid of the front. Get rid of those first. Thank you. Mr. D is gonna hand out a sheet of paper. We're just using it as a scrap sheet of paper. So if you already have your own scrap sheet of paper, you're welcome to use that. And yes, it's graph paper. We're not using it like graph paper. Use the other side. Just getting rid of paper I don't like.
Oh, you like it?
Because it's stupid graph paper. The boxes are so tiny that I would hate to make a student use that graph paper. Pass it back to Destiny. Yeah, that's what the extra ones are. If you haven't passed it back, please do that. Sorry, I thought that was implied. You guys are new at this whole sitting in the front row thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the back.
Oh, weird. All right. Huh?
I
We
think
should
after
switch
every
seats again?
quarter we should switch seats.
No, we'll think about it.
Think.
Yeah, I'll think about it. I seem to like you where you are. Anyway,
No, I don't.
so now instead of just telling me what minerals are in each rock, the next thing we have to do is do percentage of minerals found in the rock. So if we look at this guy here, which we already established is granite, how much of it do you think is made out of the pink? If you had to guess,
Yeah.
look at, you don't see any pink on this rock?
No.
It looks more like a blue,
A pinkish, orangish, brownish,
and quite a bit.
quite a bit of it's made out of the pink.
Oh,
Thank
wow.
you. How much is made out of the white? These,
That's, yeah.
Maybe like around 15.
much smaller amount, right?
That's
Same
fine.
with the black. Well, what if I told you this is also granite?
That's fine.
These are the same rock.
What?
What?
That one
Oh.
has less white and more black.
One just has more white. This one has more pinkish or brownish, for those of you who want to call it brown. And if anyone's ever seen a granite countertop, they can come in just about any color because they're made of different amounts of the different colored minerals. What you may have noticed on your reference table that I haven't pointed out yet is they also put the color of those rocks. So potassium feldspar is white to pink. Quartz is clear to white. Plagioclase, white to gray. Biotite, black. Amphibole, black. So this guy that I call pink, and so does the reference table for that matter, has more of the pink minerals. So it has more potassium feldspar, and actually that's the only one that's pink on here. So it has more pink, whereas this one has more of the white minerals and less of the pink. Now the Regents is going to ask you to tell them exactly how much. What you may have noticed, do you see on the reference table?
100%.
Percentages. See how it goes from 0 to 100%? We're going to match up how much of each mineral there is.
95%.
Okay, work with me. Let me actually teach you. It's like there's a method. So there are other ways to do this. They involve math. And you know my thoughts on math. So I'm not going to teach the math part because I don't have to. I'm going to teach you the easy, simple, guaranteed way not to screw up way. If you want to do math and you're good at it and you can do it without me explaining it to you, fine, go for it. But if you screw up, I'm going to tell you I told you so. Okay? So do it my way and I won't tell you I told you so. Okay, see, we're going back to this granite one because that is the first question. So it says determine the percentage of the various minerals that would be found in the following rock. We're going to start with granite. So the first thing we do, again, remember how granite had its own box? Okay, I did because that one was the one in the notes. That's why that one was, now this one's not highlighted. So granite has its own box. Do you notice how the word granite is centered in its own box?
No.
You don't. Okay, they centered the word instead of having it over to the left or to the right. They centered the word, and they did that on purpose. Because that way it's easy to find the middle of the box. By finding the middle of the box, we're basically looking at the average piece of granite. We're not going to be looking at all pieces of granite, but we're going to be looking at the average piece. So what I want you to do with your scrap paper is find the center of the box of granite's box. How might we find the center of granite's box?
Just a full effort.
I only folded it just so you could see more of my reference table. If you're more comfortable using a half sheet of paper, go ahead and fold it. If you're good with using a whole sheet, you don't have to. Most of the time, you're just gonna probably have the edge of your homework. And so you probably aren't going to fold it, but I just folded it because it's easier for me to work with half a sheet. So we have the word granite. Where would the center of that box be?
Most likely towards the end.
Okay, so again, because it's centered, if we just find the center of the word granite, then we've also found the center of the box. So since granite is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 letters long,
You go between the end.
you actually just, yeah, the N is the center. Because there's 7 letters, so there you go. This part doesn't have to be perfect. So notice again, let's see if I can get this, so you can, nope, it's gotta be up here. So again, my paper is going down the center of the word granite, and it is going down all the way to, it's covering the word granite and all of these boxes. Here's the next part. The first thing I would like you to do is mark off the top and the bottom of that box on your scrap paper. Sal, let me actually teach. So by doing this, now if I wiggle my paper, I at least have somewhere to line it back up with. This is my starting point. Now what we're going to do is mark the top and bottom of each one of the different minerals. So I'm going to start at the top. So the potassium feldspar, we already marked off the top of it. I'm going to sit down so more people can see me. We've already marked off the top of potassium feldspar. So now I want to mark off the bottom of it. So I'm really just measuring how fat is that section. So I just marked off the top and the bottom. I'm also going to label again how fat it is, not the line, but the space in between. I'm going to label that pot for potassium feldspar.
Oh, come on, Mr. Rich.
So I just labeled it. And I did not label it P feldspar because there's another P feldspar. I didn't label it PF because there's 2 PFs. But just, I mean, you can write the word out if you want. Just label it something that you are clear with. I went with pot. Now we're going to do, we already labeled the top of quartz. Go down to the bottom part where the polka dots and the stripes meet. That one I can label with the Q because there is only one word that begins with Q. Then you're going to do the bottom of the stripes. Now I have no idea what the stripes are because I'm covering it up. So I'm just going to peek underneath it. That's the plagioclase. So I'm just going to abbreviate that plage. Now I got to mark off the bottom of the black. And again, I got to peek underneath. The black one is biotite. So I'm going to label that with a B. So again, guys, notice that my labels are going in the space, not the lines. That's important. And that bottom one, that's amphibole. So I'm going to label that with an A. It's hard to tell. It's hard for me to say, is A or B the smallest? They're about the same. So yours should look like that. Does your scrap paper kind of look like mine? Just a bunch of little marks with some labels? Okay, now here's where you'll notice there's a percentage listed over here. I'm also going to point out the same numbers are over here. So depending on which side of your paper you made your marks on, so I made my marks on the left side of the paper. So I'm going to go over to the left. But Kat, didn't you make your marks on the right side of your scrap paper? So slide yours over to the right, so you don't have to peek underneath. See what I mean? Okay, so now, since mine are on the left, I can just come over here. And I'm gonna zoom in here so you can actually see what I'm doing. So now I've got my paper lined up, and the bottom of the A is at the 0 and the top of the pot is at the 100. But again, there's an easy way to read this. So I want to know how much A is there. We can read it. It starts at 0 and goes up to, yeah, they go by 5. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. The top of my A is pretty much right on the 10. How about,
10%.
yep. So I put a little label here if you want. There's 10% of A. Now here's where that math comes into play. Now most of you can see B goes up to 20, right? So how much would it be of B then?
20%.
No, another 10, but here, here's the easy way. If you stop what you're doing, and here, guys, watch this easy way out. If you just slide the bottom of B back down to 0, now you don't even have to do math. Yes, 20 minus 10 was easy math, but let's not do math. So if you slide it down, so the bottom of the B is at the 0, where does the top of the B go?
0.
No, the bottom of the B is at 0. Where's the top of the B go? Stop saying 0, it's not. If the bottom is at 0,
Top is at 10.
top is at 10.
Yeah.
So Kat, back to the beginning, how much of B and A are there? They're the same. So again, let's do plagioclase. What should we do to figure out this math? Zach, you're gonna punch Destiny.
I'm just scratching.
Well, don't, her face is there. What will we do to get plagioclase? Move it to the bottom, slide it down so the bottom of plagioclase is at 0 again. How high does that go now? Goes up to the 20 for me.
What if it touches the 25?
Did you slide it really down to the 0? Okay, so yours went, so if yours does go all the way up to the 25, my guess is you weren't quite in the dead smack center. It's okay though. So go with what you've got. All right, so I'm gonna do chords. Yeah, mine goes to 20 as well. I'm gonna slide, so the bottom of chords is at 0 again.
I got.
And so there's my
I got
25,
40.
30,
I got
35. I'm up, I'm not quite at 40.
I'm at 40.
We're gonna go with 40. It's close enough.
Good enough.
And then we'll do the last one, slide potassium
20.
feldspar back down,
20.
and that's 20 for me. Now, what should all of these numbers add up to?
100.
10, 20 plus 20 is 40, 80, 20 plus 20 more is 100. If yours don't add up, like Zach, you just threw out that your potassium was 15.
Yeah,
Does that mean one of yours was 5 bigger than mine?
I don't know.
And yours might have been. If they were, again, what does that mean? It means you probably weren't down the dead smack center, but you're probably close enough. Huh? If it adds up to 100, you should be fine. So those are how much of each mineral there is. Now, what do we do with this information? Well, we should have just marked it down on here. So again, there's 20%, and I'm just going to copy this right off my scrap paper. 20% of the pot one, which is potassium feldspar. I'm going to write it out because it is the answer now. And there's plenty of room to write. It's not the only feldspar, so don't just write feldspar. And then there's 40%, and that was the Q, which is quartz.
Quartz.
I had 20% of the plagioclase. And again, I'm just getting this off of the scrap paper. You guys all have already done this, so this is not,
Something so.
this is, yeah, and it's not something new. I'm just
Biotite.
biotite.
You got the name? 10%.
All right, so you guys are now completely caught up with the other classes. Well, you are gonna have homework. They had homework yesterday. So you have homework today. 17 and 18 is your homework today. You can start doing it right now, 17 and 18. But I actually have another question. Who's going on the field trip tomorrow? Okay, so not many of you two that are going on the field trip.
I might.
You three that might be going on the field trip, do you have an agenda? How do you keep track of your homework? So okay, yeah, don't use your head.
It's probably going.
So period 5, 6, your homework today is to do pages 16 and 17. I'm also going on the field trip. So the 3 of you that are definitely, maybe 4 of you, you're going? Okay, so everybody going, you're still responsible for your schoolwork. In class, we're going to be doing pages 20 through 22. Yeah,
So you're checking this on Monday?
so on Monday, what? Oh, I'm sorry, 17 and 18.
Yeah, come on, so.
Come on, Miss Ritz, you keep making mistakes. That's confusing.
Sorry, Carter, I'm not perfect, just better than most.
What, Rick, you say that every day.
I know, well, you guys don't learn.
You guys must.
So page 17 and 18 are tonight's homework. Carter concluded that I won't be checking it until Monday.
You
We're
don't have to do it tonight.
Yeah, well, then you're gonna have 5 pages of homework to do over the weekend.
No, we can get that tonight.
Will ya?
Yes.
Okay, so then in class tomorrow, you're doing page 20. The 6 multiple choices on 21, and what is that, 9 multiple choice questions on 22. So get it done however you gotta get it done, but on Monday, I am checking 17, 18, 20, 21, and 22.
What about 9?
19 we're skipping for now because I did not assign it to anybody else.
What is the rate of school?
Actually, now that you talk about it, we'll probably change this to 19 to 22.
No one else did it.
No, they will. Second period is way ahead of everybody because I haven't missed days with them. It's 5, 6, 10, 11, and 12 that
Do you
their
have off
schedule's
back
a
in
little
second
messy.
period?
No, second period is when I'm here.
Yeah, you have off back second period?
Yes.
Yes, anyway. So again, tonight's homework is technically just 17 and 18
Or nothing.
or whatever. Monday, I'm checking all of it.
Like, if I get it done.
What is the rate of cooling?
On that note, you guys do have about 6